All right, so thank you for tuning in to Chomping at the Bit. I'm Kyle Edwards, of course. Now, I'm sure most of you know, but if you don't know, the World Series got underway on Tuesday night between the Braves and the Astros. So we've seen the two games play out in Houston, and they're now about to do the 3 games in Atlanta. So this episode, I'm going to go over what we've seen through the first 2 games and what I expect to see, I guess, possibly the next 5 games. And I'll give you, I guess, my pick for who I expect to win the series and how many games. I'll give you players to look for, players who need to step up after the first 2 games, and players who will need to continue their production to ensure that their team wins. We'll just kind of look at all the aspects of this matchup, because to me it's an interesting matchup between the 2 teams, and we've kind of seen through the first 2 games why that is. I think that one team will probably be painted clearly as the good team in this matchup, and then one who I think will become the bad guy in this matchup. So I think because of that dynamic, it'll probably do well ratings wise. At least baseball's gonna need it to. But may not necessarily have been the World Series matchup that baseball wanted. Even though I think it could turn into a classic matchup. But, we'll get into all of that as we go through the episode. So like I said, break down the first 2 games, see what's to come, see who I think is going to win, all that good stuff. Guess I'll probably guess who MVP might be, all of that good stuff. But before we get into all that, thank you guys for tuning in, of course. Hope you're doing well. If you're new here, hopefully you'll like what you hear and you stick around, and also go back and check out some of the previous episodes. Let's go ahead and talk about it. Nothing else I really got to say before we get into it. So like I said, Braves versus Astros. The Braves, 88-73 in the regular season, made it through the wild card game. They weren't in the wild card game. Sorry about that. They made it past the Brewers, who were the NL Central champions, and then they upset the Dodgers, who were the number 1 wild card team. And now they find themselves in the World Series against the Astros. The Astros started their run where they dismantled the White Sox. Then they beat the Red Sox and are now against the Braves. The Astros were 95-67 in the regular season. So for the Astros, a lot of people saw them in this position only because, like I said, 95-win team. Very talented. A lot of names that you've heard about, whether it's for their title that they won or the cheating scandal, all that kind of stuff. But they're the more known team out of the 2. The Braves, they made their run, last year, where they made the NLCS, were up on the Dodgers and then gave up the lead to the Dodgers. So I think coming into this year, they were seen as a favorite to make it to possibly a World Series appearance. But through the regular season, they struggled, ups and downs. Like I said, won the NL East, 88 wins. But NL East was down this year. So not a lot of expectations for them, especially once Ronald Acuna got hurt and missed the year, because he was seen as the best player on the Braves. But through, like Freddie Freeman stepping up through the year, Albies, Austin Reilly became a household name. I think he hit 33 home runs, over 100 RBIs. And then piecing together the other pieces, they were able to make it through, and then really stepped their games up once they got to the postseason. So if you look at the final four teams that were left in baseball, you had Astros, Red Sox, Braves, Dodgers. I'm guessing that Major League Baseball probably wanted Red Sox Dodgers because that was the World Series from, was it like 3 years ago now? And it was a great series. A lot of memorable performances. You had Chris Sale striking out Machado to end the series. You had the extra inning game with Nathan Eovaldi. You had the whole Mookie Betts situation going from the Red Sox to the Dodgers. So a lot of storylines there. And I think, like I said, baseball-wise, ratings-wise, seeing a rematch of that probably would have been probably the best matchup. I also think Red Sox Braves would have been probably a matchup that would have catered to maybe the older school fan, because you've gotten the Braves franchise, which originated in Boston, now in Atlanta going up against Boston. So you get that kind of historical twist to it. And I mean, you're looking at, Devers versus Freeman, two power-hitting left-handers. I say all that to say, basically, I don't know how many people really want to see the Astros back in a World Series, at least this quickly after the whole trash can cheating situation thing. And then last year, where Dusty Baker came out and was talking about, I think he said like before the season that he didn't want to have his team going to ballparks and, hearing a bunch of noise from fans because of everything. Luckily, they didn't really have to face any fans last year. So because of that, they got a lot of that hate from visiting cities this year. And like I said, I still don't think that they're really well received around the country. Of course, people in Houston, that area, they're loving it. But yeah, to a lot of people, the cheating scandal hasn't been too far in the past where they're actually viewed as likable yet or anymore. Because up to that, Astros are a team that people liked. You had the little guy Altuve. You had Correa with a bunch of personality at the plate. You had Bregman as the, I guess maybe less flashy, talented third baseman. At the time, you had Alex Cora down there. So, the National League side, I mean, you had the Dodgers. Dodgers being, one of the historical teams in the league. And the Dodgers, put out a lot of money to try to win multiple championships. So I think at the, possibility of maybe seeing a little dynasty form with the Dodgers, people would have liked to see that. But yeah, they end up with Braves, Astros. And like I said, to me, what I think makes this matchup a good one is that the Braves are clearly your favorable team to watch. Because like I said, overcoming the Acuna injury, Freddie Freeman, who, I mean, what can you say bad about Freddie Freeman? Not like he's a guy who gets in trouble or anything like that off the field. He goes to the ballpark, hits home runs, very productive. He was MVP last year. I think he's a free agent after the year, so teams are going to be throwing money at him. You have Albies, the other youngster to Acuna, because those two are kind of, at least in my mind, linked together. Like I said, Austin Reilly, who kind of came from nowhere this year and had a really big year. Although he showed some signs of it, I think, last year, but this was like his first full year, and I mean, over 30 plus 100 RBIs, great. And then outside of that, You have the manager Snitker, guy that not a lot of people know about, but I mean, he's been pretty good as a Braves manager. And then the other side, like I said, Astros, the cheating scandal. And then the players. I mean, there's only, 4 players still left on the Astros from that. But it kind of seems like the players have slightly been given a pass through everything. Because it seems like a lot of the blame for the cheating and all that went to Cora. I can't remember the guy's name. The guy who was like Cora's bench coach or something. And I think Beltran. Seemed like all of it got put on them. And Altuve, Correa, Bregman, I think Gurriel was there. Have kind of slid under the radar. And if you watch the two teams play, Astros are a pretty cocky team. Especially Correa and Altuve and Gurriel. The only saving grace to me for the Astros is Dusty Baker. Dusty Baker's a manager that I think a lot of people would like to see him get a World Series championship. You know, he's been around the game for a while. He's come somewhat close a couple of times to making a World Series, but this is probably his best chance to get one. So, I guess that's kind of the background of this series. But now let's take a look at what happened in Game 1. So Game 1, we saw the Braves just come out early, were really aggressive. I mean, Soler started the game with a home run. Doesn't get any more aggressive than that. And the Braves continued from there because then third inning they got another home run from Duvall. You had the whole story with Charlie Morton, which I didn't know it at the time of the game, but heard it was the very next day. He took a liner like off his leg in the second inning. And of course, he didn't know and we didn't know, but he actually had a fracture in his leg. He stayed in the game through like another 20 pitches until he finally had to pull himself because of the pain. And the crazy thing was it was his plant leg, and he was still dealing like 95, 96, which is crazy to me. But, you know, he was pitching well. He comes out early. Would have been a great opportunity for the Astros to make a little run and get back into the game. But A.J. Minter came in. He went another 2 2/3 inning. He gave it 1 run, but, you know, he spread 3 hits out, had 3 big strikeouts, and, you know, got the Braves into a position where they could tack on a few more runs. Let me see. Well, they got the 2 in the first, and they got 2 in the third, because the 2 in the third came from the Duvall home run. At that point, they were up like 5-0 at that point. So between Morton and Minter, held that lead for them, and then they got into, you know, the bullpen with Jackson, Matzik, and then leading to Will Smith at the end of the ball game. But if you look at the, you know, box score to that game, you saw what the key was the being aggressive at the plate, but being selective on the pitches that they took a swing at. Made sure it was around the plate. And then against the Astros lineup, which is difficult to navigate because you have to deal with Altuve leading off. Then they split Altuve and Bregman with Brantley, who's a tough lefty hitter, splitting up the 2 righties. Then they split Bregman and Correa up with Alvarez, another tough lefty, who if you make a mistake around the plate, he can hit it a mile. And then between Correa and Gurriel, they split those 2 with Tucker, another tough lefty who, like Alvarez, make a mistake, he'll make you pay for it. And then just looking at the lineup, they held Altuve hitless 0 for 5, Bregman hitless 0 for 4, and Correa hitless 0 for 3. Now I said that with this Astros lineup, those three, if they're having a good game, for the most part, you're probably going to lose. So you have to make sure that if they do come up at the plate and are able to do anything, you have to minimize the damage. You don't want those guys coming up with runners on. And if they do, then you have to make sure you make quality pitches and get them out. So the Braves were able to do that in game one, get the win, and now going into game two, the Braves are looking at it as, they got their one win in Houston, but if they're able to get a second one in Houston, then they just take all the momentum away as they head to Atlanta for the next three. Then that way you just have to win 2 out of the 3 to win the World Series and not have to go back to Houston. So the issue in game 2 was it just seemed like Atlanta came out as a team that was satisfied with getting game 1, and they really struggled game 2, and it looked like a lot of the players were up there at the plate swinging wildly at pitches out of the zone, getting fooled on a lot of off-speed pitches. While the other way, if you look at the Astros, they came with the same lineup again, except for Altuve was 2 for 5 with an RBI. I believe he hit a home run. Let me double check that. Yes, Altuve hit a home run in the 7th inning to lead off the inning. Bregman, they kept Bregman 0 for 3. So Bregman's still hitless for this series. Correa 1 for 4. I mean, he didn't exactly kill them, but still was able to get a hit. And let's see. Well, they kept Alvarez 0 and 2. He was hitless, but Altuve, Correa were able to get hits in the game. So you combine that with the Braves being a little bit undisciplined at the plate, and because they had the Astros had 12 strikeouts. That's a lot, but there was a play. It was like a series of plays in about the 5th or 6th inning. I think both involving Albies actually in the field. One was a play where it was hit. I think it was hit to the third baseman. Yeah, and they were trying to turn a double play, threw it to Albies, and he couldn't get the ball out of his glove. Dropped out of his glove on the transfer, but the umpires looked at the replay, determined he never actually had it in his glove, so the runner was safe at second. And I believe that led to a run, which ultimately it was like their 6th run or something, but it was just kind of like a body language thing. And then Albies had another play where I think it was hit to the first baseman, and then they threw it to him covering second. The throw was a little bit wild, but Albies got it. No, sorry, wrong play. I think it was a play where Albies got to the ball in the hole, threw it to second, but it just seemed like he threw nonchalantly to second. Yeah, they weren't able to try to turn a double play. It would have been tough anyway because I think Tucker hit it. He has pretty good speed, but it was just something that was a little bothersome because, like I said, the body language is kind of like, we won game 1. We're down game 2. We'll just get ready for the 3 games in Atlanta. Which, I mean, I guess is somewhat understandable. But I think the dangerous part here is all the momentum that the Braves had after game 1. You could basically say that they've lost most of that coming out of game 2. Now, of course, they'll, especially in game 3, the emotion from the Atlanta Braves, faithful, the crowd down there, will give them a little lift. So we'll have to see if game 3, if the Braves are able to put up some runs early and really get the crowd going. But the Astros are a team because of their previous World Series experience with Altuve, Bregman, Correa. I keep wanting to say Gurriel was on that team. He might have been. For some reason, I'm thinking Brantley might have been there too. But they have guys who have at least been there. You look at the Braves lineup. The only one with World Series experience is Jock Peterson. And he's actually struggling so far in this series. Because Peterson was with the Dodgers. Yeah, he's with the Dodgers when the Red Sox beat them in the World Series. So, just because of experience, I think this series is still in limbo. You know, it's tied 1-1. I do think the Braves will figure a way to get the win in 6, which means that they're going to have to go back to Houston, because I'm not expecting them to sweep the 3 games in Atlanta. I think Houston is too good to allow that to happen. But I do think if they are able to win, let's say like games 3 and 5 in Atlanta, I think riding that momentum into a game 6, they'll be able to win down there, because like we said, they've already shown they could win in Houston as they did in game 1. And for all I said about the Astros being like a cocky, confident bunch, Atlanta has some confident guys as well. Freeman, Albies, Reilly. Soler. You hit a home run, first plate appearance in the World Series. You got to be pretty confident. So, like I said, an interesting matchup between the two. Like I said, I'm expecting the Braves to ultimately pull this out in 6. But Game 3 is going to be a pivotal game, which, you probably hear that a million times on the broadcast about the winner of Game 3 wins whatever percentage of, series. So it's going to be a chance for the Braves to snatch back any momentum that the Astros may think they have from Game 2. They have, let me see, who is on the mound for them tonight? Yeah, let's look at the pitching matchup. Ian Anderson for the Braves, Luis Garcia for the Astros. Is that right? Yeah. All right. So, Garcia, I know from the Red Sox series, I want to say he pitched in the clinching Game 6 when he went like 7-8 innings. He was really good. So the Braves hitters are going to have to be disciplined at the plate. Because from what I remember, Garcia was a guy who kind of threw a lot of strikes. Has a pretty good fastball. Decent breaking ball. But I think the key will be Freeman in the lineup. Well, probably the right-handed hitters. Freeman, Reilly, Soler. Yeah, because they have the lineup ready for the game. So going Rosario, Freeman, Albies, Reilly, Soler, Duvall, Arno, Swanson. So no Peterson. Good call by Snitker there. I don't know. Peterson just looked like he was late on everything. So maybe he'll be in a better role. A pinch inning, late inning pinch runner or something like that. Maybe he just needed to take a step away, kind of regain himself, and pretty sure you'll probably see him back out there in Game 4. Astros, we already know it's Altuve, Brantley, Bregman, Alvarez, Correa, Tucker, Gurriel, Maldonado. Yeah, that's a really tough lineup. I'm at 7 deep. So I guess looking at tonight, Astros are tough. They're a team that can win on the road. They have no problem doing it. I'm going to go Braves win a close one. Let's go 4-3 Braves. Take a 2-1 series lead. Yeah. And head into game 4. Looking to go 3-1. Let's see if there's anything else. Yeah. I mean, like I said, Braves in 6. That's what I'm going with. Definitely be an upset, for sure. Because you look at the two teams, the Astros are the better hitting team. I think the Braves have more pop in their lineup. But I think they also strike out more than the Astros do. And Astros pitchers have a lower ERA, so they're a little better than the Braves staff. But I just think, I don't know, maybe it's just me and my hatred for the Astros. I was even new. I am a Red Sox fan. Live in Atlanta, so I do watch the Braves. But as a Red Sox fan, I mean, the two organizations I basically hate are the Yankees and the Astros. Among others. I mean, I guess those are the two big ones. And then for them going up against the Braves, since the Braves are like my second fan favorite team. I feel like I'm obligated to root for the Braves, but I just don't want to see the Astros win. As much as it'd be cool for Dusty Baker to get one, just not with this group. I can't do it. And they knocked out my Red Sox, so why would I root for them after that? But I guess the last quick nugget before we get out of here. I think ESPN had the stat up that Game 2, the ratings for Game 2 of the World Series were up like 20% from last year's World Series. I think that's interesting. Because I think maybe this was a series that people had to kind of slowly get into. Because like I said, maybe not the two teams that a lot of people thought when looking at the Final Four teams that this would be the matchup. But I think after what might have been was with the Braves winning Game 1, and I think there's a lot of fan bases that dislike the Astros. It probably brought in some extra fans to watch Game 2. And now with the tied at 1-1, I'll be interested to see what the rating is on Game 3 Friday night tonight. See if it continues on the arc of being higher than last year, or is this one maybe a little bit down from Game 2? Interesting to see. Then, I guess one last thing regarding baseball. This is now outside of the World Series. I think it was at some point during the regular season, I said that there's this whole work stoppage thing looming over baseball because the collective bargaining agreement runs out at the end of the World Series. And I kind of put up there this warning that, as we've seen with baseball, they can be kind of out of touch with things. And I would not be surprised if they allowed a work stoppage to happen after, I guess, the momentum they might have had from this year. Because I think viewership was up based off of last year. And I believe attendance at ballparks was down. That's kind of understandable because some ballparks, I don't think all ballparks are operating at full capacity. And plus, I think more people were just staying home to watch games. So, but yeah, viewership was up. Attendance was down, but as long as viewership was up, that's kind of matters more. If they're going to turn around and then have a work stoppage on top of that, I think it's going to do a lot of harm to baseball, which I said before in here as well, that baseball's already harming itself by not really willing, not being willing to change some of the aspects of the game that I think turn people off. We all know what they are: the pace of the game, length of the game, all that. But now, if they could do a work stoppage on top of that, I think they'll completely turn some fans off, possibly for good. So ESPN had a report that I guess people tied into everything expect there to be a work stoppage because they don't feel like an agreement or something will be met. There was some date in December that was like really important, and they feel like that date's going to come and go and nothing's going to be worked out. And then because of that, they think that there's going to be a work stoppage, which only baseball would do that, basically what I'm saying. So I hope I'm wrong. They figure it out. Also tweak some of the things I talked about, pace and all that good stuff. And kind of turn around the stigma of them being slow to react to everything and just missing the point on everything. I think that's it. Oh, yes, sorry. One last thing. I guess this one kind of ties into the World Series a little bit better, but have you guys been seeing this thing about the chop that they do, for Braves home games? And the fact that, nobody wants to say anything about it. It basically seems like baseball's leaving it up to the Braves to decide what to do with it. The Braves are just kind of like, meh. So fans are, I guess, still allowed to do it. But we kind of know, at least from what we kind of heard about before, there was some call for it to be, banned because of the whole Native American thing. But then some people were like, it's honoring Native Americans or something. And now it's gotten to the point where it's just awkward that this is a story around the World Series, but it's like nobody wants to address it. I have no problem addressing it. To me, I think in this day and age, where you have to really be careful with what you portray, because groups pay way more attention to these little details now, as we're seeing with Cleveland, who will no longer be called the Cleveland Indians after this year. They're going to be Cleveland something. I don't think they decided on a name yet. We see Washington football team used to be the Redskins, but we saw the whole outcry about the name. Eventually got changed. We're seeing some college teams changing their mascot name, their mascot to, just be more sensitive to, Native American and all that. Because there are a lot of Native American, themed mascots that, back in the day nobody cared about, so they were able to run with it. But now people speak out more against what they deem inappropriate. And we're starting to see these little changes happen. So I think what the Braves should do, since baseball doesn't seem like they want to step up and make any decision on this, I think ultimately the Braves need to ban it just to do away with the story and kind of move on from it. I mean, of course they'll face some backlash from some of their fans who are just like, oh, it's tradition and all that kind of stuff. But I do think for the organization and all that to move forward, they're going to have to do it. Because to me, I've always taken the stance that if you do something, I don't need a majority of people to be offended by it. If there's just a small group that is offended by it and they're offended by it for legitimate reasons, then I think you just have to do away with it. Just to take away the distraction of it all. So, because there are people who think the Braves need to stop doing the chop, I would say just stop doing it. It takes nothing away from the game. Doesn't really add anything to the game either. So if you do away with it, it's kind of like no harm, no foul. Fans will find something else to do. I mean, they can do the wave. Which, I mean, the wave's kind of played out to some people. But, come up with something else. No reason to do a chop. If you go to ESPN, there's like an image from a game where there's a fan who holds up a sign talking about the chop is racist. Like, do you want to see that every visiting ballpark? Or if some fans in Atlanta feel the same way, you want to see that sign every game? No, I think it's pointless. So stop dragging this out. Just end the chop. Be done with it. Come up with something else. I think even though the Braves as an Atlanta name is tied into Native American, culture and all that, I don't think there's been a, outcry for them to change the name. So I think if they keep doing the chop, it may become something where then they turn to the name as well. I don't know, but something that shouldn't be a story is continuing to be a story. It'll probably be a story for a while because, it's going to probably turn into a lot of back and forth before a decision is made. But hopefully the organization comes to their senses and does away with it. All right, I think that's everything now. That was a quick little rant there. I'm done. So if you enjoyed this episode, which I hope you did, do like, subscribe, you know what to do, all that. Leave a comment as well. If you think I'm off base with the whole chop business, let me know. If you think I'm wrong about my prediction for the World Series, you can let me know that as well. But yeah, so I will get this episode out. So yeah, it will be out before Game 3. So remember I said I think Braves win it 4-3 over the Astros, take the 2-1 lead. And I'm picking the Braves to win it in 6 games. But yeah. So as I say at the end of every episode, be safe out there. God bless. Have a good night. And enjoy your Halloween weekend. I mean, you will hear from me before Halloween because next episode we'll be going through week 8 in the NFL? It was already week 8. Week 8 in the NFL. Get you ready for the Sunday, Monday games. Do the rest of my picks. And also want to address kind of a news story that's come out. The whole Trae Young business where he's kind of complaining about the refs with the new rules. Gonna address that. Because I haven't done NBA talk since the season started. So I'm going to talk about Trae Young, talk about Ben Simmons, talk about what I've seen so far in the league, talk about all that. That's coming up over the weekend as well. Yeah. After that, I don't know yet. But plenty to talk about. So thanks again, and I'll catch you in the next episode. All right, I'm out.